And so what are you saying about some of the big stories? And of course, we're going to pick up from where we started off. And that's your reaction to JAMB's position on the review of the 2025 UTME results. Adetunji Adewolu is the first user this morning. And what are you saying? Adetunji is saying, about time, the system must work for the students, not against them. And so, Kaide, you have the next one.
Well, I think this is a very deep one, and JAMB must really handle this well. Take a look at Boda or Bodaide, as the case may be, asking that why did a lot of students fail? If you've been tracking the data, which is also important, you realize that last year, a similar percentage, I should say, also failed in that sense. In fact, it's almost been consistent, that kind of failure. So this will mean that we might need to also look into previous results from JAMB, that's the UTME results. But it's important to know, yet again, that JAMB is now investigating. But it must not be the only one investigating. There must be an independent body also doing the investigation in that sense.
Absolutely. So let's talk, what about Al-Qasim? It says, oh, how thoughtful a review after years of complaints. Better late than never, right? So that's what we're talking about. So the ones that is clear failure out of the fact that students are not working hard or studying hard, there's nothing anybody can do about that, because if the system is foolproof against failure, there's nothing anybody, and we must applaud JAMB for that. But if it is clearly a question of technical glitch, the word I hate so much because it reminds me of an election, we must fix it. And we must get to this point where we perfect the system to a very large extent so that our children will know that if they go in and they did their best is good enough. If they didn't do well, then the result is out there.
Can I just say, guys, that I know that there's been that back and forth. You know, parents nowadays who I mean, or the system that doesn't say a child failed, right? So they don't say you passed or failed, right? And people say, no, you need to toughen them up. But I also think for JAMB, it's not really a matter of pass or fail. And I think we've had this conversation before. Scoring below 200 is not failure. The cutoff, that's the average, right? In fact, cutoff sometimes is 90 for other institutions, tertiary institutions. University was 140. So first, I think this will harm the psyche of a student, hearing that, oh, you failed, you failed, you failed. No, you didn't just score as much as 200. There are people who are probably listening to me right now, and I think we've had that conversation, who scored 120 and are doing great in life. So I just wanted to add that.
It's important. Mine is to the effect that whatever JAMB is doing, and generally now, we must build our system such that let's not use failure as a yardstick for institutional efficiency, because it happens that, oh, I'm telling you, we all went to school. You know those very wicked lecturers, those of you that are wicked lecturers, I'm sure you're looking at me, where 100 students will be in your class, 90 failed, and you're saying, yes, because my questions were tough. You are a failure yourself. I'm sorry. You didn't do a good job. If not, 90 people failing your course is not a good thing. You should be worried. In safer climes or in other climes, you'll be the one to be called to question, not the student.
Well, so JAMB will not be our only talking point this morning. Let's go to the next one. And, you know, the activities of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission have been under scrutiny in recent times for good reason. If it's not about very dark man, it's about the prosecution of, you know, politically exposed persons, or it's about the reason for defection. But this time around, somebody is saying something, and it's the head of the security outfit that the federal government has employed to oversee security of oil pipelines. There's a viral video of Tompolo saying nobody is above the law.
No, that's the EFCC.
Speaking the EFCC
to Tompolo's
speaking
video,
to Tompolo,
where money was being sprayed all around. Take a look at that video.
Yeah, let's have the video.
Okay. So that's Tompolo, the ex-militant, ex-agitator who is now a government contractor, helping out with surveillance. So you can see money is being sprayed. I think it's one of these festivals. This should be a Porosa in Baramato Kingdom, where people call their attention to it and say, okay, now that you are on arresting people for mutilating the currency, what about Tompolo? Well, they say it's not above the law. They are going to invite him to answer questions. And I'm sure not just himself, other people who were also in that video. So Nigerians are looking. You know, I like this kind of situation, Kayode and Bukola. I like this kind of situation. It's a test of whether justice, whether there's a rule of law in that sense. Now that it's Tompolo, just like I told the EFCC chairman, I said, for me, the biggest yardstick of what he's doing is not chasing Yahoo boys and mutilation of currency. It's what happens with Yahya Bello's case in court, whether it's discharged and acquitted or is found guilty, because he's used his mouth to say that he's going to follow it to the end. So it's not me that said it, he said it. So now Tompolo has gone to, they sprayed money. I didn't see Tompolo spray money, to be fair. I saw people spraying money on him. So I don't know whether he's the right person to invite. Anyway, they've now said they will invite Tompolo to respond. So we'll get to see. So now this is a true test of whether the law is for everybody or is for a select few.
And we want to see whether the EFCC will harass, you know, this high-profile personality as well, with questioning, with maybe even a charge and the appropriate punishment meted out. It goes beyond, you know, making political statements on television and saying that the law is not selective, the FCC is doing its job. I recall his conversation with our political editor. There should be, you know, more strength of character, as it is evenly distributed in the cases that the EFCC tries for people who cannot fight for themselves, do not have the money to throw about, big lawyers to defend themselves in court, to those who have the big money as well. So we're looking forward to how this case will be treated by the Commission. We shouldn't see selective justice.
Let's get to that big one, away from the serious stuff. Rema packing out that stadium in Canada, call it the Scotiabank Arena. We understand Rema, you know, these guys are just breaking barriers all around the world. So we understand that Rema sold out a 19,800 capacity Scotiabank Arena in Canada. I wish we could see the video. Yeah. There you go. From Benin City to the world. I don't know what he likes, this smoke and dark movement. I don't know. It's his thing. He's been consistent with this kind of themes when it comes to stage props and all of that. So that's Rema. The young man is just breaking barriers all around the world. I don't even know whether these guys live in Nigeria anymore. But this is what we're losing out, Kayode and Bukola. You see, we don't have arenas in Nigeria. We do not. In fact, the one at the Core Hotel is the only one that we use more, and it's inflexible in that sense. These arenas that you're talking about, they are so flexible. Because how many times have you seen Nigerian artists tour Nigeria? Because there are no facilities to tour the country in the sense of touring a country. So that's where the Ministry of Culture, Creative Economy, and there's one other name, art, tourism and creative, this is where they come in to encourage a lot of these guys to, you know, do the best they can to ensure that the state government build facilities so that these guys can tour Nigeria. All of this money that they are going to, I know it's in dollars. They can come and spend it in
Jeffrey,
Nigeria.
there is hope in that sector, you know, with what we record from about last year now, during Dirty December. And I like what Eko Hotel is doing, you know, with drawing all variations and shades of entertainment. And that is foreign exchange, not just for that outfit, but also potentially, you know, for the ecosystem, the economy. There's so many entrepreneurs that will be benefiting from that space. The hope now is that, you know, it is spread across, not just during December, but during, you know, all celebrations, high points in the country and throughout the country, not just in the commercial capital alone, that idea you know, of entertainment through tourism will be replicated throughout the country. So there is some potential for selling out, but we just hope that it is beyond
we're not ready.
the Dirty December experience.
We're not. Dirty December is just a fraction, like it's like 0.01%.
That's why I
of
said
what
there is some promise. There is some promise.
So let's look at the numbers, because the Scotiabank, as you said, 19,800 capacity. Yes, we need to build arenas, we need to invest in it. But when you look at the ticket price, for example, you can get it for as low as $45, right? Do the math. That's 70,000 Naira, right? Or you can pay $145. Do the math. That's about 230,000. But let's take the lower end and just say 70,000 Naira. That's minimum wage to watch Rema play.
And you can contextualize it. The average ticket in Nigeria is 20,000.
Exactly. So I'm not saying we shouldn't do these things, but we also need to understand, and big ups to all of the artists. Again, it takes a whole team to do this. There's also the international team ensuring that their own end is sorted. But we need to sit down and think this through properly. People were complaining that some of these artists don't come back home to do their concerts at the end of the year, or even when they do, the tickets are unreachable. But come on, a lot of these things are priced in dollars. You know, a lot of their production is done in dollars. Their promotion is done in dollars. Their videos done in dollars, and all of that.
That's another factor to consider.
A lot of factors. So when they price the ticket at 70K, I bet you, Jeffrey and Bukola, a lot of people will drag them on this social media and say, you don't even respect your fans. We made you, and all of that. Again, I am making this with all due respect to the fans. Yes, you made them, but you also need to understand the business side of things. So we need to sit down, really know what we want to achieve when it comes to art, entertainment, performance, and all of these arenas in Nigeria. Then I think we can begin to step forward. But at this point, they will keep selling out.
Yeah, but there's something economics called the pricing policy, and you contextualize it based on the places, although we have the dollar as the universal whatever. So I'm sure when they come down, they do the analytics, they will know where to peg it. You don't know whether you can afford or not. And you choose to go. But that's how much we can take on the trends. We'll take a quick...
There's more.
Is there more?
Actually, yeah. There's more that we could take.
Really?
Just to mention that, well, it's good to see our sports people doing great stuff across the world. But take a look at our under-20 team qualifying the semi-finals and the World Cup as well. They beat Senegal, guys, in penalties. So it's really beautiful to see our under-20 teams. I love the fact that it's for Senegal that we won against, because Senegal has been flexing. So.
Yeah, Senegal, they've been doing us dirty. I remember one year they did us really dirty. But let's get the thoughts of the people. I'm not sure I can pronounce this name, but it ends with Ijebu.
That's a Kovacic, right?
They played well today. The coach did a good job, but still need to work on their finishing, clinical finishing. It's very important, and there's a need to come from the bench next time. Good job, guys.
And this next one is from Onoja Willie Rep, who says, the team and draw, Well, Onoja goes on by saying, thank God we've qualified for the World Cup. They can exit the tournament now if they want.
Come on.
Come on. We need more support from you. Anything can happen. But he continues by saying, but a huge job needs to be done before the World Cup. There is a problem. Guys,
we need to understand, and I'm not even a football manager here, but there is also a psychology behind football. It's not all the gra-gra that gets you results sometimes. It's been very tactical. You know, it's been very smart with how you handle stuff. So if they're able to get draws and they plan for penalties, they get the results. That could be a strategy to win as well. The goal at the end of the day is to win, to get the cup. So if they have a strategy, I'm not saying that's the strategy, sometimes things just happen, but if that's the strategy, let's have some faith. But I totally understand there's a lot of work that needs to be done, particularly if you're going to face bigger teams on the global stage. But let's give them all the support we can give them. We wish you the very best. You can go to the finals and win, and even go to the World Cup and win as well. I mean, our under teams have always been doing well, so wish you guys the very best. But that's not all we have on the sporting arena, guys.
Yeah,
okay.
There's more from the Team Nigeria paracyclists who swept gold at the CAC African Continental Championships in Cairo. And, you know, that is very, very heartwarming to see that indeed it is those that we thought, you know, would disappoint that are delivering the results. And, you know, that is very, very encouraging. And, you know, we need to give these ones more support, you know, encourage the others, discover more talents in that space pretty much so that they can find expression and have more meaningful professional experience. But congratulations to them.
It's brilliant to see. Cycling is a beautiful thing. It's been a long time I cycled. You know? I would prefer to cycle than ride and this scooter and all of those bikes.
Well, you can have both. I also have a bicycle.
So I love this cycling thing, you know. It's just beautiful to watch.
And you know, guys, we actually have this facility in Abuja, the velodrome. At the
this is where the PDP did their primaries, the famous primaries in 2020.
Oh my goodness! But the point here is that we should make the most of all of those facilities, because I must mention their names as well, because it's also important to admit and also recognize the work that has been done. So you have Tijani Daramola, his pilot Okeya Bethel Temple. They clinched double gold in the men's tandem B class, winning both the sprint and individual pursuit events. In the women's event, Favor Omo and her pilot Tawakaltu Yakin also delivered a matching double gold performance in the women's tandem B class, also triumphing in the sprint and individual pursuit races. So this is not the end. The championships continue, and we wish them the very, very best. So all the best, guys. Thank you so much for making Nigeria proud.
Base. The information is a bit sketchy, but as soon as we get all the details, but this is becoming like, you know, there's a difference between going to face these guys, the insurgents in that sense, and we have casualty and all of that, but having them attack our base is another level of, I don't know, is it impunity? Is that the right word? Is it
the audacity?
Audacity, that's the word I was looking for. Very audacious that we are now having soldiers as casualties because some cowards in the name of terrorists invaded or attacked the military base. I know someone, this is somebody I know who died like this as well. In that sense, a soldier, a young man, young friend of mine who grew up together in the same neighborhood who joined the military. And how did he die? Because setting out on their parade, didn't know that these terrorists had planted some bomb somewhere under their vehicle, and boom, it went. That's how died and left 2 children.
Well, you know, Jeffrey, this pretty much punctures the point expressed by the Minister of Defense during the ministerial press briefing for which they delivered, you know, their work in the last year, you know, to pressmen, that the insurgents or the terrorists, as the case may be, do not have more sophisticated weapons than the Nigerian army. But if stories like this are coming through, then we must, you know, ask the Minister of Defense where he gets his own security report from. Or is it to deflect such that, you know, the Nigerian military doesn't look good, you know, before the world, or amid the fight against insurgency? And we understand that, you know, there are matters of security, national security, that are confidential, and their approach sometimes to tackling these issues are not placed before the world. But this is reality staring us right in the face. If our military formations are susceptible to attacks, then it places a huge question mark on the approach to tackling insurgency and banditry. It places a huge question mark on the equipment that our forces have to tackle insurgency and banditry. And in fact, on the perhaps billions of dollars that have been expended on insecurity in the last decade. Where is the justification for all of that fund?
Well, we must also thank the military for some of the efforts they've done in carrying out the clearance operations they've done. We've seen them do some big things, but as you said, it's a valid question not to deflect when this is reality. I know there's that place of bad bragging, sovereignty and all of that. Of course, we cannot have insurgents having firepower over our military. It's not going to happen, but it calls to question the sincerity and the transparency. We understand it's 4 soldiers that died in this incident. Is a forward operation base. That's what is called, a forward operation base. 153 Task Force Battalion in Mate, the fringes of Lake Chad. It's about 132 kilometers away from the city center in Maiduguri. We understand that it shows that the entire, you can see the entire
damage done there.
Makeshift shelters and other equipment were actually there. So it's a forward operation base.
And we also gathered that 48 motorcycles were carted away during this operation.
Let's not forget, guys, that last week there was another attack on Goza. There was an attack. Some were killed, but then more Boko Haram terrorists were then killed. I think reports had it that about 8 of them, and some of their equipment was seized. So we're seeing a dangerous trend now. Goza last week. Goza is about 2 local government areas away from Mate. Mate is closer to the Lake Chad fringes, right? So we're
that's
seeing
Nigeria's northeast.
Exactly. We're seeing still in the same Borno state, right? So we're seeing a very dangerous trend. The audacity yet again, and this is coming from a stage that we thought, finally, we're able to get terrorism, get a handle on terrorism. Remember, during the previous administration, it sort of moved from the northeast to the northwest. So we had a lot of banditry, kidnapping, and all of that. So are we seeing a shift back? It's almost like once there's a lot of heat, they move. And then come to the north central. You've heard about that again, and then it looks like is it back to the northeast? But clearly, something is amiss here. It
appears we're under some form of invasion in that sense. You know, the DHQ, even if we debate over it, had said is foreign herders in that sense. They've mentioned that, though there is, whether or not that is true, but that is their position. So we've seen what has happened if they slightly slowed down in Benue and Plateau. Plateau is even very more shocking because Plateau is not a border state. Benue has a bit of border between them and Cameroon, so you have Taraba and that stretch. So, and I know that the governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulu, and the prof, had mentioned that they are losing grounds from what they gained before. So this is a classic example of what perhaps he was talking about in terms of losing grounds. Now we have 4 soldiers dead, not because they went to fight anyone, just being at their operational base at the fringes of Lake Chad, and now this has happened. So the authorities must do what they can to
Jeffrey and Kadi, what we're seeing
protect our people
in criminal cases in courts increasingly in recent times is the adoption of the capital punishment, just to deter murder. But we're seeing, on the contrary, a support for the de-radicalization program of insurgents in Nigeria's northeast. And on the front pages this morning, we find that the NOA is supporting de-radicalization of insurgents. And that, places another question mark, another concern on the efficacy of the fight against insurgency and banditry in Nigeria's north, not just the northeast now, but northwest, and in fact is moving further down the north central beyond Benue and Plateau State. So if we're adopting de-radicalization for insurgents, and we know full well that, this is a cancerous problem. If over the years thousands have been neutralized, but we still have this big problem on our hands where, in fact, it's not just soft targets now, but we also have our military formations targeted and our soldiers killed, then there should be a review of the de-radicalization program and the adoption of a more stronger punitive measures that will serve as a deterrent to, enlisting, being recruited by insurgents, by those non-state actors who are causing mayhem on our country and, in fact, causing sorrow, destruction of lives and property, and the destruction of even the economy in the country. So there should be a review, and this advocacy should go, round and ring through the country. Absolutely.
So if you have your thoughts on what you just watched, I'm talking about that attack on that forward base, if you will, around the fringes of Lake Chad, please send your messages to us on WhatsApp as well as email. We'll be right here to read them for you by God willing. So, but we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to that very first conversation for the day that has to do with handling corruption to stopping it from threatening our democracy, because that is actually where to begin from. No matter how the reforms, how beautiful they are, if we don't deal with corruption, those leakages will happen. And that El Dorado of a democracy, we may not achieve it at the end of the day. But we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.